Most people think a startup works like this: build a product, raise money, get rich. But one major study of American startups that raised professional investor money estimated that 84% of founders made nothing from their shares. Nothing. To be clear, that doesn't mean that they never earned a salary or learned anything. It just means that the part that was supposed to make them rich, their ownership in the company, never became actual cash. When I came to Silicon Valley, I had already built several successful businesses. I understood customers, sales, operations, and how to make company work. I assumed a startup was basically the same game but with softer, bigger ambition and investor money. And oh, I was wrong about it. And many people entering startups today don't understand that difference either. Some of them are engineers who think, I can build a product. Why wouldn't I build a company? Some already run agencies, e-commerce brands, or traditional businesses and see startups at the next level for them. And some are simply following the latest opportunity. A few years ago it was dropshipping, then Amazon FBA, social media agencies, crypto, and now it's AI startups. Technology changes, the fantasy stays surprisingly similar. People trying to find the right wave, build something quickly, raise money, and become the next success story. But social media world always shows you the winners. It never shows you the denominator. It shows you the unicorn company valued at $1 billion. But it doesn't show you whether the founder can sell a single share. So if you're thinking about getting into startup world, or you're already at the very beginning, let me share about the game you're actually entering. Imagine you're a talented software engineer with a stable job. You see a problem. You build an AI product on nights and weekends. Your demo looks impressive. All your friends tell you this is a great idea. Maybe a few people even sign up. So you decide to leave your job and go all in. And 6 months later, you raise $2 million. You post the announcement everywhere. People are in line to congratulate you. Your parents finally understand what you have been doing. So for about 48 hours, it feels like you won. But at this moment, you did not make $2 million. Your company received $2 million. That money belongs to the company. It's there to pay salaries, servers, lawyers, salespeople, and all the experiments required to discover where the business actually works. And the moment that money arrives, a clock starts. Founders call that clock runway. Runway simply means the number of months before the company runs out of money. If you spend $100,000 every month and have $2 million in the bank, you don't have a successful company. You have roughly 20 months to create one. The first serious investor round is usually called a seed round. And it's called seed round because it gives the company something to grow from. But even a seed round is not proof that anything will grow. In one recent study group, only about 15 raised the next major round within the following 2 years. 15 companies out of 100. The next round is often called Series A. At that point, investors usually want more than an exciting idea. They want clear evidence. Customers, growth, retention, and a business that is beginning to repeat. And this is important. But remember one important thing. The other 85 companies did not necessarily all die. Some of them raised money later. Some stayed small. Some became profitable without another round. Some people sold the company. And some just shut down. The number I mentioned doesn't mean that 85 failed. It just means that the path from we raised seed to we built a repeatable company is not automatic. And even for the startups that did reach Series A, the typical journey recently took more than 600 days after seed. 616 days to be precise. That is more than 20 months of building, selling, hiring, making payroll, hearing no from customers, hearing no from investors, and trying not to run out of cash. This is where the startup story becomes very different from the announcement. The announcement is just one day, and the uncertainty is every day after it. And while the company moves through this round, something else changes. Your ownership part. Every time investors of startup receive shares, employees of startup receive shares, or earlier agreements turn into shares, your founder's percentage of the company can become smaller. This is called dilution. But the word is less important than the fact. Your company may become much more valuable while your percentage becomes smaller. Across thousands of startup cap tables, the typical founding team owned about 56% of the company at seed. By Series C, it was about 16%. And don't get me wrong, that that is not automatically bad. 16% of a truly enormous company can change your life, and 100% of a company nobody wants is still worth nothing. But this is why a headline valuation of the company can be so misleading. If your company raises money at a $50 million valuation, it doesn't mean you have $50 million. It doesn't even mean your shares can be sold today at the price in the headline. It just means an investor bought a particular type of share at the price that implied that valuation. That is a paper value. Your rent in San Francisco, unfortunately, is not paper. Startup investors can also have protections that founders and employees don't. If the company is sold for a disappointing amount of money, investors may receive their money back before the common shares held by founders and employees receive anything. So a company can be acquired, publish a beautiful announcement, and still leave some of the people who build it with a very little or even nothing from their shares. The headline says everywhere exit. The founder's bank account can still say zero. And during all these years of building, the founder is not necessarily living like the millionaire people imagine. In 2025, it was a survey of more than 1,800 startup founders. 60% paid themselves less than $100,000 a year. The average salary was $75,000. Unfortunately, some paid themselves nothing. And yes, that may be a reasonable salary in many places. But for an experienced engineer or operator leaving a well-paid job in San Francisco, it can represent a very real pay cut, combined with much more risk. And now we return to that first number, 84%. Researchers estimated that 84% of founders in American startup that raise professional investor money receive zero value from their shares. And the top 2% of founders captured 80% of all the founders' value. This is what a power law outcome looks like. The average statistics can look incredible because a tiny number of enormous wins pull it upward. But the average is not the experience of the typical person. If one founder makes $1 billion and 99 founders made nothing, the average founder in that room make $10 million. But almost nobody in this room experienced the average. This is the part I wish more people understood before treating startups as the new gold rush. And the current funding headlines can make that misunderstanding even worse. In the first half of 2026, more than $400 billion went into American venture deals. That sounds like money is everywhere right now. But almost 88% of it went into funding rounds worth $100 million or more. The market can be breaking records at the top while feeling incredibly difficult everywhere else. So when you hear that AI funding is booming, do not automatically conclude that every AI founder has a better chance of raising money. A wave can be real and still carry only a small number of boats. Now, after hearing all of this from me, you might be reasonably asking, why would anyone start a startup? And I guess because the upside is real. Startups can solve problems that ordinary businesses can't. They can create products used by millions of people. They can give a small team the chance to change an entire industry. And yes, they can create extraordinary wealth. Even when the company fails, the founder may leave with better judgment, stronger relationships, and skills that change the rest of their career. But a startup is still not a predictable shortcut to money, freedom, or status. In the beginning, you will probably have less money, less freedom, and more people judging your progress than you did before. So the real question is not, can startups make people rich? Of course they can. The real question is more like, would you still want to build this company if the most likely financial outcome from your shares were zero? Would you still care about the problem after the excitement of calling yourself a founder disappears? Would you still talk to your customers after the 50th person says no? Would you still choose this pain if nobody congratulated you for raising money? If your only reason is that you hate your job, want to get rich quickly, or see everyone around you building an AI company, that is probably not enough. If you love building but refuse to sell, that's also a problem. A startup is not a coding project. The market doesn't grade the quality of your architecture. It decides whether the problem matters. But if you understand the painful problem, care deeply about the people who have it, and willing to live with years of uncertainty while finding a repeatable solution, then the risk may be worth taking. And I'm not telling you not to start a startups. I'm telling you to understand the game before you sacrifice years of your life to play it. Because raising money is not winning. A high valuation is not money in your bank account. And being called a founder doesn't mean you have built a company. The company becomes real when customers repeatedly choose it, pay it, and come back. And if you understand all the odds that I mentioned and still feel pulled toward the problem and the customers, not just valuation on paper, you may actually be ready. And if you're already ahead in your startup journey, I will ask you, what is the biggest thing about startup life that nobody explained to you before you started? Tell me in the comments below. And I'm Francisk, and I'll keep sharing what I'm learning while building here in San Francisco. See you in the next video.